Your calendar is packed, and your work is starving. You sit through 5 meetings, hear the same debate, and somehow the decision still drifts. Alignment slips because everyone nodded, but nobody owns. Decisions get delayed, then resurrected, then reversed, and you pay the tax twice. More talk, less clarity. The worst part is you feel busy, so it looks like progress, but nothing actually moves. If that sounds familiar, it is not a people problem. It is a decision system problem. Moving to slide 2. Alignment keeps failing because people are aligning to different finish lines. One person means revenue, another means speed, another means no risk. Nobody says it out loud, so the meeting feels productive, while everyone silently optimizes for a different win. Constraints stay hidden too. Legal has a hard stop. Engineering has a dependency. Finance has a cap. If those constraints show up late, the team debates fantasy options. Then you discuss risks, but no one owns them. You name the risk, feel responsible, and move on. Finally, assumptions go untracked, so the same argument returns every 2 weeks like a bad subscription. You do not need more alignment meetings. You need a tighter artifact that forces clarity before the room fills with opinions. Moving to slide 3. Use an AI decision brief. 1-page decision ready, built to end meetings, not feed them. Start with context in 5 lines. What problem are you solving and why now? Then list the options side by side. Not a narrative, a comparison. Option A, B, C with cost, time, impact, and operational burden in the same format so the brain can actually choose. Next, make trade-offs explicit. If option A is faster but creates tech debt, say it. If option B is safer but delays launch, say it. Then surface assumptions as a checklist. What must be true for this to work? What data is missing? What you are guessing? Add the clear ask, the exact decision requested, in 1 sentence. Name the decision owner, not the meeting host. Add the due date. Finally, keep an audit trail. When the decision gets questioned later, you can point to the brief, the assumptions, and what was known at the time. The brief does not replace judgment. Moving to slide 4. Build the brief by starting with the ask. If you cannot state the decision question, you are not ready to meet. Write 1 decision question that has a yes or a clear selection. Not thoughts on strategy. Use, do we ship feature X to all users on August 15? Or run a 4-week beta first. Then name the decision owner. 1 person who is accountable for the call. Not a committee. If multiple leaders must sign off, still name a primary owner who drives the process and resolves conflicts. Set a decision due date. Without a date, you get endless refinement. With a date, people bring their best thinking forward. Now bound the scope. What is included and what is explicitly out. If the decision is about onboarding, say that pricing changes are out of scope. List non-goals up front, so nobody hijacks the meeting with a different problem. When the ask is tight, everything else becomes easier. That is when success can be pinned to something measurable instead of vibes. Moving to slide 5. Lock success criteria before you argue about options. Pick 3 measurable success signals max. Choose 1 primary metric that defines the win. Then add 2 guardrails to prevent success from breaking something else. For example, primary metric is activation rate. Guardrails are support tickets per user and page load time. Write baseline and target numbers. Baseline, 22% activation. Target, 28%. If you cannot get a baseline, say that, and define how you will measure it. Define the time horizon. 2 weeks is different from 2 quarters. Without a horizon, people talk past each other because they are optimizing for different timelines. When success is locked, decisions get simpler, debates get shorter, and constraints stop being surprise weapons. Moving to slide 6. Before you propose a solution, surface the real constraints that will quietly kill it later. Start with the budget cap and who actually owns the spend. Then name the hard deadlines and the dependencies you do not control, like a vendor release or an internal platform team. Call out legal, security, and policy limits in plain language, not vague warnings. List the technical constraints that matter like legacy systems, performance ceilings, data retention, or required integrations. Finally, be honest about people and capacity. Who is available, at what skill level, and for how long? When you put constraints on the table early, you stop selling fantasies and start designing choices that can survive reality. Moving to slide 7. Once constraints are clear, give real options, not one preferred plan wearing a disguise. Aim for 2 to 4 viable options and include the status quo as a legitimate option with consequences. Option A might be, ship a thin slice in 2 weeks by reusing the existing service owned by one back-end engineer and one designer. Option B might be, build the scalable version in 6 weeks with a new pipeline owned by the platform team plus QA support. Option C might be, buy a third-party tool in 3 weeks, owned by procurement, security review, and one engineer for integration. Keep each option to one sentence so it stays comparable. Then attach an effort and timeline estimate, plus who does the work, so it is not magical labor. If you cannot name the owners, it is not an option. Clear options turn decision meetings into selection, not debate. Moving to slide 8. Now you earn trust by framing trade-offs, not opinions. For each option, tie pros to metrics you care about, like conversion rate, support tickets, latency, error rate, or time to revenue. Tie cons to guardrails, like compliance exposure, operational load, reliability targets, or maintainability. State the cost of delay in concrete terms. Every month we wait costs X in churn risk, or blocks the mobile launch, or extends manual ops by Y hours per week. Add second-order effects. If you choose the quick patch, what debt grows and who pays it later? If you choose the scalable build, what gets displaced and what opportunity cost you accept? Also be explicit about who wins and who loses. Sales may win speed, support may lose simplicity, engineering may lose focus. When trade-offs are visible, alignment becomes a decision, not a popularity contest. Moving to slide 9. Trade-offs only work if your assumptions are visible. List your top 5 assumptions, the ones that would flip the decision if wrong. Examples: projected demand, expected performance impact, security approval time, data quality, and availability of a key team. For each assumption, rate the evidence quality. Is it a production metric, a customer interview, a small experiment, or just an internal guess? Then state what would change minds. If the pilot shows under 5% adoption, we stop. Or if legal flags PII risk, we switch options. Capture unknowns and assign an owner to resolve each one by a date. And link to the source data, so nobody argues from memory. Evidence does not remove uncertainty, it makes uncertainty manageable. Moving to slide 10. Finally, handle risk like an adult. List the likely failure modes, not vague fear. Data loss during migration, latency spike under peak, billing mismatch, support overload, security regression. For each, size the blast radius. Does it affect 1% of users or every paying account? Does it block checkout or just a report? Score reversibility. Can you revert in minutes, hours, or not at all once data changes? Then attach mitigations with triggers. If error rate exceeds 1% for 5 minutes, auto-disable the feature flag. If reconciliation drift hits X, stop writes. Document a rollback plan that includes owners, exact steps, and what data must be backed up first. A plan is only real if you can execute it under stress. When reversibility is designed in, you can move fast without gambling. Moving to slide 11. Before any meeting hits your calendar, pre-align stakeholders asynchronously. You are aiming for clarity, not consensus theater. Use a 2-pass feedback window. Pass 1 is for substance, missing facts, wrong assumptions, and risks. Pass 2 is for wording. Make the final brief tighter and unambiguous. Tie every comment to a specific section so you can resolve it surgically. If someone disagrees, make them label it. Disagree with assumption, disagree with recommendation, or need more data. That stops vague drive-by objections. Do not let silent readers stay silent. Require a response from every required reviewer. Approve with edits, or block with a specific reason and a proposed alternative. Then record final sign-off in one place, with date and owner, so nobody can reopen settled decisions without new information. When you do this well, the meeting stops being a debate and becomes a clean decision, with guardrails that even AI can operate inside safely. Moving to slide 12. AI fits safely when it drafts and you decide. Start with a structured prompt template. Goal, audience, constraints, known facts, open questions, and what good looks like. Ask for an option comparison table, so trade-offs are explicit, not buried in prose. Then use AI as a checker, not an oracle. Run a contradiction and gap scan. What assumptions conflict? What data is missing? What would a skeptic attack? Finally, ask for a tone and brevity rewrite, so the brief reads like a decision document, not a brainstorm. If you treat AI like a fast junior analyst and keep ownership of the calls, you get speed without giving up accountability, and your brief becomes sturdy enough to survive a real challenge. Moving to slide 13. Red team the brief before you circulate it. Your job is to make the strongest case against your own recommendation, not a straw man. Start by steel manning the best objection. Write it as if it came from your smartest critic with their priorities. Then ask AI for a failure story. Assume we shipped this plan and it went badly. What happened first? What did we miss? And what warning signs did we ignore? You are looking for plausible sequences, not freak accidents. Next, check incentives and politics. Who loses budget, headcount, or control if this passes? Who gets blamed if it fails? If you pretend those forces are not there, they will still shape the outcome, just later and messier. Stress test edge cases. The busiest week, the smallest customer, the worst dependency delay, the new hire running the process. If your plan breaks there, revise now while it is cheap. When you circulate a red-teamed brief, you are not inviting chaos. You are preventing it. So the only call you need is a short one that actually decides. Moving to slide 14. Replace the meeting properly. Keep a short decision call only, and assume everyone has read the brief. Your agenda is simple. Objections and vote. Time box each section. If an objection is new, it must be specific, tied to a section, and paired with a proposed change. If it cannot meet that bar, park it. When the decision is made, log it immediately. What we chose, why, and what would make us revisit it. Then assign next actions fast, with a single owner and a due date for each. No, we will follow up. When the call ends with a recorded decision and named actions, you stop paying the meeting tax, and you start building a system that holds up under pressure. Moving to slide 15. Make it stick by measuring the outcomes. Track cycle time reduction from first draft to sign-off. Track decision reversal rate, so speed does not quietly turn into thrash. Build a library of brief templates that your teams can reuse. Coach leaders on writing clear asks, and reward written clarity in performance conversations. If you want more scripts and systems like this, subscribe. In the comments, tell me which part of your process creates the most rework right now. Technology changes fast. Great systems last.